Welcome to the Dojo. My name is Master Male, Northern Wind Kung Fu School.
And I'm Grandmaster Ray Such of the Cleveland Academy of Self-Defense, Hardstyle. Well, today we've got a long interview. We've got some free fighting, but our first is the interview with Master Ron Bailis.
Yeah, Ron.
Yeah, Ron also co-hosts the Millennium Invitational that we have some footage from today. And he teaches, I think, primarily on the east suburbs in some of the schools. And
in the Menor area. Yeah,
Menor,
and also he's,
Solon, or Orange area in that,
right.
Around in there. He's been going at it for many years. I used to work a little bit with him when he was in the YMCA in Cleveland Heights. And he was basically teaching forms of self-defense to the YMCA, and I brought in a little bit of the Taekwondo, the free fighting and that. So he's an old timer, and he's won his awards, and him and Denny really put together a good tournament. And this time, this one we went to, both of us there, I don't think they expected how many people they got.
Right, they had a very nice turnout. But another thing about Ron is that you mentioned that you should have mentioned is that they have a thing called the Circle of Masters. Mm-hmm. And this is an organization that I think Ron kind of like put together, in which they're contacting masters around the world. I mean, worldwide. Masters from different parts of the country to come. And it's called the Circle of Masters, in which they bring in masters from various places to demonstrate what they know. And people can come and train with the master for that day. That's something that they're doing.
And again, when you get new people, young people into the martial arts, it's, like my style's better than your style. There is no one style better than another style. There are individuals that are better than others. No different than on the NFL. Any given team can beat any other given team on any other given day.
Well, it goes to what? It goes to training. It's how you train. It doesn't matter what form of art, may it be karate, taekwondo, kung fu, gung fu, because there's two ways of pronouncing it, but one feels that one is stronger than the other, but what happens is you got to train to be the best at whatever.
His organization, bringing any organization that brings different martial artists together, I wholeheartedly support. So with that said, here is the interview with Master Ron Bailis.
This is Christina Michelle with the Dojo, and we're here at the Millennium Invitational. And right now we're talking with Grandmaster Ron Bailis. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So tell us, what is your style that you do in the martial arts?
My style is Japanese. It's called Tai Shin Do. It's Japanese. I'm the creator of it. It's a worldwide karate system. We're located in 20 different countries around the world and about half of the United States. I'm very honored to have been able to do that.
Now, is that hard style, soft style?
It's a combination. It's both. It's not hard and soft at the same time. We have soft style, certainly for beginners and other folks who may not have the physical abilities. But I feel as though that karate is almost for everyone. For not only for self-defense, but for a lot of fun, for education, for physical fitness, and on and on and on. We have a hard style that we use for sport karate, and then we have a harder style because I'm training the U.S. Army, and so that is totally different in that training than it is for the civilian population, for the others. Soft style and hard style that we do. Totally different type of training.
Now, you said you created this system.
Yes.
So how long ago did you create this system?
The system was created in 1965, and here is what I mean by the creation. Taishindo is the name of the system. The Tai is the head, the Shin is the heart, and the Do is the way or the body. Now, we incorporate the Shotokan system for our katas. Now, I didn't create that, but someone else did in Japan lots of years ago. The jujitsu and the self-defense portion, I didn't create that. That's been around a long time. But there are certain things in the self-defense, many things in the self-defense that have my personal signature on there because of the fact that no one else has done that, to my knowledge, worldwide. And so that because I've made certain self-defense systems unique to me, that is what is meant by I've created the system.
So you've put together the things that you learned and some of the things that you wanted to teach and put those together into your own system.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about your school and what you do when you teach?
Yeah, as an example, we're in 2 recreation departments, and I can't even, we have wall-to-wall kids, thank goodness. We're very blessed. In our kids program, it's all soft karate, and it's done for a number of reasons. My other profession is that I'm a semi-retired psychologist, child psychologist. And so that as we take kids into our program, the focus in the soft style is paying attention to detail. So that their mind doesn't wander. We call that attention deficit oftentimes.
Right.
And a lot of people have that and they don't know it. And so what we're doing with our kids program is not so much in jiu-jitsu and self-defense and all those things, but certainly a program to help a child to learn some things about themselves and to be able to focus on a specific task. At younger ages, like 3 and 4 and 5 years old, developmentally, young people, boys, girls, they have no concept. They have very little concept of their bodies, of who they are. And oftentimes wonder, when a child is looking at themselves in the mirror, who is it that they see? Don't know, because they haven't developed that yet, a sense of self, of who they are. Let's see, when you're teaching young people, and even into an older childhood, oftentimes you have to say no, the other right foot, left hand, right hand, and they get confused because they're not aware of their bodies yet at that age. So then our soft program for kids, as an example, is designed to move growth and development a little bit. It's nature, nurture. So we want to move nature a little faster.
And help them understand
and help them understand what this is about. And as they get a little bit older, then we start on the forms, on the different kata forms and the Shotokan forms. It's movement, right side, left side, up, down, front, back. And it helps the child to begin to be able to determine of their bodies, of who they are. Self-defense comes into it. How to get away, from somebody. There's no question that we don't expect a 6-year-old to stand toe-to-toe with somebody 22 years old and trade punches. That would be absurd.
Right.
But to run away, to get out of there. Hey, you're not my father. You're not my mother. I don't know you. Get away. That kind of thing, to help a child. Because I do seminars with families, with PTA groups, and I said, look, I don't care what you've taught your child. I can get your child out of that playground in 2 minutes, and boom, they're in my car, and I'm gone. And so we have to help the child to be able to understand that sometimes there are some bad people, who do some bad things, and get away, kick, spit, yell, scream, whatever it takes to get away from them. So that's our children's program. Had a lot of fun, tumbling, rolling, learning how to, getting more balance with their bodies, etc., etc.
Stay tuned. We're going to be returning with the second half of Master Ron Bailis' interview.
Admit it. You're the one who killed him. You seduced him, gained his confidence. And then when he wasn't looking, you reached into your purse, and without conscience or remorse, you pulled out a gun and shot him. And cut. Curious? Visit theindygathering.com, a film festival, and so much more.
Cleveland Academy for Self-Defense is Northeast Ohio's premier martial arts school. Located on Cleveland's near west side, we teach several martial arts disciplines, specializing in Taekwondo and Hapkido. As taught by Master Ray Such, students of Cleveland Academy learn discipline, formal martial arts training, and real-world self-defense techniques. Classes are available for children and adults. Cleveland Academy for Self-Defense, the home of champions.
And then I just watched here, one of my teachers has a 4-year-old who just did one of the basic Shoto Kankatas, never been in karate, but just by watching. And I said, who was the teacher? He was just watching it done. I watched him out here do it. I would have promoted him. He was that good. So, but that's a special child at 4 years old, because they have a sense, it's like an old soul. They have a sense of their bodies at that age, and some kids do. They're genetically predisposed for that. So it's just a marvelous experience. As they get older, then it graduates from soft to from some soft to soft, and then a little bit more difficult as they get older. And it's pretty hard then. Because if you walk into the room there and see some of the activities going on there, that's pretty hard karate. It's full contact that some of these kids are doing. And if they don't block and get away from it, they're going to get hit and they're going down. People say to me, "Gee, how can you do that? I mean, how can you teach a child that?" Well, it's very easy to do that. Because what if they didn't know how to do that? What if they didn't know how to block somebody and get away with somebody? They'd get hurt, But not only that. They're learning these things of tumbling, of learning how to fall properly. They can trip and fall on the playground, on the sidewalk, slip on ice, whatever. So all of the rolling and the tumbling that we do to help them is designed to help them to learn how to do those things, so to lessen the probability of being hurt by falling by an accident. So, then of course it progresses to the adults, where it's pretty tough. Grandmaster Ray Such was with us years ago, more years than I'd like to think, and wasn't he really a great competitor? And at that time when he was competing, they didn't have this kind of safety equipment. They didn't, and I mean it was a lot more difficult. And the safety equipment is the right thing to do today, because it helps to prevent serious injuries.
And you're also involved with the whole production of the Millennium Invitational, so can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've been involved in the Millennium. It used to be called the Battle of Lake Erie, the North Coast tournament and so forth. And we decided back in 2000 that we'd call it the Millennium because it's the Millennium. And the Cleveland Open, Cleveland Championships, and so forth, but the Millennium Tournament. You see the number of people in there. I'm going to be a different person at 5 o'clock today, because to organize this and set this up, to set something like this up, the detail, the logistics of it are enormous. We've been working on this to this day since about the 15th of January. And here we are today. That's it. It's a big undertaking. It's nice. We're going to go to dinner afterwards. I'm not going to work tomorrow or the next day. I'm going to work in my house, and I'm going to cut the grass.
And you have a great turnout. There seems to be a lot of competitors.
We are so blessed. I'm telling you, it's just great. We try to run the best tournament, meaning that it's fair, that the judging is good, that the competitors, especially the kids, but everybody, get a fair shake on this thing, that the judging is good, that we try to eliminate favoritism and things like that, so that people get a fair shake on, they're out there performing, trying to do the best they can do, and so the best thing that we can do is to make sure that they get the best possible judging, for their efforts and so forth. It's a great tournament. We've enjoyed it. We've been doing this for a lot of years, and we complain every time we're ready to do it. But I'll tell you, tomorrow morning we're all going to be laughing and saying, boy, this is really great.
And it does seem like a really great event. So before we wrap up this interview, I just want to ask one last question. If you could sum it up, what would you say the martial arts means to you, and what is its importance for people to, understand self-defense, understand the martial arts, and get into it if they're interested?
People in my programs, I've had about 36,000 people come through our program since 1966. Now, all of those people didn't become black belts, but many did. Those that didn't got to various degrees of belt, yellow belt, green belt, whatever it is. And I certainly ask questions, why do you do karate? What brought you in here? And of course, there's a myriad of answers, many of which include, or some of which include, well, I did this to tone my body. I did this because I wanted to learn some self-defense for myself. I don't think of myself becoming a black belt, but I do think of myself as learning something about self-defense. But more important, learning some things about my body, of who I am, of things that I've been able to accomplish. Karate for me, there's so many books out there on the way of the warrior. The warrior code, the warrior code, the warrior code. And sometimes I think to myself, how absurd. Because the majority of the folks, at least that I've interviewed over the years, have no concept on the way of the warrior, other than what they might have read, and who knows who the author was. Because a lot of what you read about karate is a myth. It's from somebody's imagination. They've just created some kind of a myth to make it sound good. I have on YouTube that anyone can look up. It's called Grandmaster Ron Bailis' Way of the Warrior, and you can look it up on YouTube. And I'm talking about the way of the warrior. I have been in a real war, and I know what that is. And so for people to be talking about the code of Bushido and what that means, I wonder sometimes, as a psychologist, as a human being, as a person, hopefully, who has just common sense, if they really know what they're talking about. What I have done is I've made a speech which I give to young people. It's called The Way of the Warrior and the Way of the Peacemaker. And so my philosophy is that without knowing the two, you haven't developed the whole. Karate has been a marvelous road for me because it has helped me to overcome fears, memories of the way of the warrior and what all that means, but the real warrior.
Right.
And the way of the peacemaker. Part of what I said about the peacemaker was that throughout my life, and throughout my travels and travails, that I've searched for that name, that peacemaker. Who was that I heard all my life? This peacemaker. Let me see who this is. Let me hear who that is. And because of my travels, because of my travails, and because of the way of the warrior, I said, now I can plainly see, as through a glass darkly, behold, it was me, all the time. That way of the peacemaker. So knowing the way of the warrior, you need to know the way of the peacemaker in order for you to become a whole person, I think. As a psychologist, I I would say that to understand the way of the peacemaker, because I'm a firm believer in that through strength comes peace. Without the strength, there is none. I mean, I'm talking about an inner soul, an inner peace. So that's my story on what it has done for me.
And it's a great story and
Thank
a great
you.
message.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, you mentioned your videos on YouTube.
Yes, it's Grandmaster Ron Bailis' message on the way of the warrior.
Now, do you also have any websites for, I'm sure the event has
We
a
have
site
a website, or they have my own website, our Taishindo website. It's www.taishindo, and Taishindo is spelled Taishin, is in Nancy, DOH.com. And they can look that up. It's a very good website. It tells all about me, all my credentials, where I've been, who tested me, on and on and on. It's there. It's there to, see who I am and what I'm about. It's there.
All right.
It even has some music to it, so it's real good.
Well, thank you so much for talking
You're very
with
welcome.
us, and
You're very welcome.
good luck with
I
the rest of
enjoyed
the
it.
event.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Keep watching, and we'll be right back with more on the Dojo. In today's world, there is an absolute need to know how to protect yourself. But who has the time or money for lengthy training sessions, with techniques you may not even remember in a time of need, or which can wind up putting you in even more danger? With the Escape and Survive seminars, you will learn effective and easy to remember techniques for getting out of dangerous situations. No complicated moves, no expensive, time-consuming training, just common sense, self-defense. Book your seminar today at escapeandsurvive.com.
Welcome back to the dojo.
Well, I guess now we're going to go to the free fighting. And again, this was at the Millennium Invitational Tournament, hosted by Denny James and Ron Bailis. We were talking before the show about free fighting.
Right.
Free fighting has a generalized point tournament.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any difference if you're Chinese style is Okinawan, Korean, or whatever. It's basically 3 points. Some do 5 points.
Right.
Some do 5 points by one.
Right.
Some do 5 points total, 2 for a kick, 1 for a punch.
Right.
But if you really wanted to get to the core of the old style, it was 3 points,
Right.
2 minutes
Right.
in the ring. Target areas: stomach, chest,
Light contact to the head.
ribs. Majority of the tournaments now, under brown belt, red belt, depending Korean or Japanese, have no contact to the head.
I thought the Taekwondo, they let you kick to the head.
Oh, Taekwondo, yes.
Yeah.
Taekwondo to the head is the thing. But I'm talking about a generalized tournament with a generalized rule. 3 points, kick to the general body, no contact to the head, no contact to the groin. Brown belt, black belt, light contact to the head is allowed.
Right.
Point to the groin is allowed. But generally, in
You have a
your
certain
lower
time
ranks,
to take down. If we take down, you have a certain time to score.
yeah, 3 seconds or so to
Right.
score on them. You have your warning system, first warning, second warning, third warning, a point goes
Skip
to
it.
the other
Got it.
person. Warnings being such thing as leg checking or kicking low, kicking to the back,
Right.
stepping out of the ring,
Right.
different things. You can have stepping out of the ring,
Knee
low
checks.
kick, stepping out of the ring. That's 3 warnings. The other person gets a point. And you should also say that the next time a warning is an automatic point.
Right.
So theoretically, you could
Then,
win.
then we go with the coming to the head. If there's redness, soreness, or to the
Right.
face, you're disqualified automatically.
Some tournaments actually have, for insurance purposes, require you to wear the helmets.
Right.
And yet, touching the helmet would be the same as touching the head. Some do it. Some I noticed that there's no contact to the head. Put the helmets on and they'll allow light to the head. You know,
Right.
so that's a variation of.
Yeah, as long as you don't draw the head back, snap the
Yeah.
head back. Then that's
Well, that's
disqualification,
with
too.
even in light contact allowed to the head. You know, when you start whipping that head back or bleeding and blood. And you know, you're funny you should say red or swelling.
Right.
My school's always been inner city, so is yours.
Right.
They've been African American.
Right.
Heck of a problem to get the redness part
Right,
going.
right.
So I always will tell judges, please study it closely. See if the head moves. My boy isn't going to go shining red, you know,
Right.
on a light
Right.
complexion.
And this is what I'm saying. You know, that even with the darkness of the skin, even if that head draws back, that's disqualification. You would have tore his head off, even though he didn't have a red mark on him or he didn't turn red.
And you know, and then when you're
He's
allowed,
hurt.
you're allowed contact to the body with your kicks and punches, but yet they have to watch the response of that body because hence there is such a thing as excessive contact to the
Right.
body.
Absolutely.
I've had students literally disqualified for excessive technique, but that's a whole different part. We'll cover that. You know, there's just little weird things that happened in a ring and that. But you know, our students go back, 30 years or so competing in tournaments.
But you know, you're talking about the point tournaments, but you know, at some point in time they had continuous fighting tournaments,
Right.
which
is very taekwondo.
but at the same time you've got the 4 judges, 4 corner judges, 1 main judge, and at the end of the match, it's show of hands who you felt did
Right.
their best, who
Right.
did the most techniques, even though a lot of times you were stopped. You did a nice kick and followed through with a hand technique and was getting ready to do something else, they might stop you and
Right.
start again.
But you know, my personal opinion is fighting the 3 points.
Yeah.
Theoretically, in the martial arts, I kick to your ribs, I punch to the other side of your ribs, I backfist you in the head. That's the end of a fight on the street. You hit a guy 3 times, he's no longer fighting.
Right.
So therefore, it's a little more get it done.
Right.
But anyways, we're going to be going to the free fighting segment, and let's see what happens. Let's go. All right, now they're free fighting. Free fighting is just basically depending on the tournament, it could be a 3-point wins or 5-point wins, and I think this one's going 5 points or a 5-point spread. But it's a game of tag, Here, comes around into the face. Did you notice he made contact to the face area, and you're going to see him get disqualified. No contact to the head in the lower ranks. A little higher rank now. Roundhouse into the stomach with the black uniform. Little red belt through 2 kicks, got a punch in the stomach.
That was a nice kick to the stomach.
you can tell that, the process of even training children, it's thinking in the rib. And here we go, a little bit higher rank, a little bit older.
It's one thing for sure that when they're out competing like this, you have to really pay close attention to the judging.
Yeah.
As we sit here and we watch it, we're seeing one thing and the judges are seeing another thing.
Right. You have your fouls, kicking below the belt, kicking to the back,
Hitting in the face.
touching and
no
hitting
one
in the
calls
face.
it.
Right.
No one calls it.
There's a groin shot. It seems like the one in the white pants constantly uses his right leg. That limits a fighter. The purple belt needs to figure that out. That he's only threatened by one leg.
Right.
But again, it's a game of tag. You've got your stomach, your chest, your ribs, face without touching it. No back, nothing below the waist. And now we got older juniors. And hopefully we'll see some more cleaner technique of straight in, straight out. He led with a kick, followed with a hand, got a point. There, back fist, reach for it, got it. Yeah, your fighters and my fighters, we go back, 30 years competing.
Yeah, and it's good to see two qualified martial artists doing what they do. And it looks like, these two have probably sparred each other at other tournaments.
Right.
And you can see they're kind of anxious to.
And you notice how the
score.
higher the rank, right there is a side kick clean in. But you notice the higher the rank, the more simplicity they get in technique.
Yeah.
You get down into the beginners in that, and like they're throwing 62 things to get 1 point.
Right.
The higher rank get more basic, more clean, more speed, more mental strategy going on. A fight is nothing more than a chess game. You're analyzing your opponent, you're anticipating their moves. The higher rank, you'll see more block and strike simultaneously. As opposed in the lower ranks, you'll see them back up block, 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 without a block strike.
Yeah, basically you're right, and a lot of times, like you said, they just run in and get blasted because they don't. They got to work on it. You have to work on it as a beginner. When it's time to go in a tournament, you must be prepared for the tournament. A lot of these kids don't prepare themselves for tournaments. Tournament is totally different from what you do in your school, your dojo.
Right. Because you know how everybody fights. You know how to adapt. You're getting into the ring cold turkey against someone who you have no idea what their strong points are, what their weak points are. You have to analyze that and analyze it quick and adapt to it. If he's a better kicker than you want to move in close, take away his kicks, use your hands.
Right.
And vice versa. If he's a better hand man, you want to stay at the length of your legs and get him to score clean.
And I guess you got to understand that you only got a couple of minutes out there too.
Yeah.
And it's who hits who first.
Right.
Scores.
Game of tag. Who hits who first? Who tags who first? Majority of the tournaments are 3 points. Some tournaments are 5 points. Some tournaments give a point for everything, whereas some tournaments will give 2 points for a kick, 1 point for a hand. Right. That changes a whole strategy in your fighting.
Yeah.
You'll notice that sometimes, depending on your style or your art, some people are strong attackers, some people are strong counter-attackers.
Right.
And this is something you have to figure out the minute you get in that ring, the seconds you get in that ring, because if he's a strong counter man, you don't want to attack and lead right into him. You want to draw an attack out of him, which is his weaker point. And the same thing with an attacker. The first thing you want to do is take the attack away from them and attack the attacker. A lot of little things. And then the fouls. The fouls are strategy too. I mean, if the guy is constantly running out of the ring and getting warnings, hey, You don't have to score on him. Run him out of the ring. You know, he runs out of that ring one more time. Usually it's 2 fouls. Third foul is a point, and then each foul after that is a point. So,
yeah, and just like you said, just understanding too that when you're in that ring, you got to win, because if you don't win, you're not going to be able to go on to the next round. You know, and winning once again is, once you win, the person that fights after you, you have to watch that fight, because that's the person you're going to be fighting next.
Right. You know, they'll sit down and socialize.
Yeah.
Actually, I've seen students sit down with a little notebook to figure out how the person before them fought, who won, how they won, what's their strong points, what their weak points are.
Strategize on
you know, I remember when my students basically being Taekwondo fighters, although they were good counter people also, would fight your Chinese stylists. And some of these kids would get overwhelmed because of those hands waving all over the place.
Right.
You know, I said, you know, after a while, I said, forget the hands. You're scoring on the body.
Right.
You know, just a lot of little adaptations. And that's another thing. Chinese can fight Korean. Korean can fight Japanese.
Right.
Japanese against Chinese. So
Okinawan style. Too.
Right.
They have Okinawan
You're
style.
basically using simple target areas for a tag, a simple foul system. No matter what your stances are, your kicks are, your style is, you're going to tag that point area, and anybody can fight anybody.
The moment you see an opening, you're going to attack it.
And you know, the whole point of 3-point fighting, if you take your fighting to the street, you kick them in the chest, you hurt them.
Right, absolutely.
You kick them in the ribs, you break the ribs. You hit them in the jaw, the fight's over. 3 points, 3 strikes, you won.
Right, that's on the streets. So once again, you know, tournaments, street.
How you doing? Jim Lewis, first time indie gathering down here in Cleveland, man. Thumbs up. I'm having an awesome time.
I'm Grace.
I'm Celia.
And I'm Christy. And the indie gathering is the coolest thing in Cleveland because there's nothing else like it, and they keep stepping it up every year.
Welcome back to the dojo. This next segment is going to be a little bit new. It's we're turning that minute or so of time over to Christina Michelle. Christina Michelle is our producer, director, and our interviewer. She's going to be doing a segment on common sense self-defense. You know, sometimes there's students in the audience that are watching our show Mom is not a student. Common sense self-defense covers everybody. So, if it's your sister or mother who's not taking the martial arts, have her pay close attention to this next segment. And it's Christina Michelle with Common Sense Self-Defense.
Hi, I'm Christina Michelle. This is Common Sense Self-Defense. And using your common sense, your freedom is the first issue. The first thing I want you to do is take your left hand, raise it straight up into the air like an arrow. Turn to your left, wrapping your arm around his. Lock it. Step behind his leg, reach into the throat, bring him down. We are not viciously attacking, kicking, striking, causing a fight back. So what you do is execute the technique, obtain your freedom, and flee, and get help.
That particular segment we'll be having on each of the show. And again, it's called a minute of self-defense. Basically using your common sense. All right, on our shows, future shows, you're going to do?
Yeah, one thing that I'm going to try to do is try to show you some of the various weapons that we use in the Chinese system and the Indonesian system that we teach.
Yeah, that I look forward to. Being a Korean stylist, we just don't use the weapons. Although many of us pick up weapons,
right.
And that. But that's one of your expertise and everything. So, broadsword?
We have the broadswords. We have the three-sectional staff. We have the
That's
spear.
a riot. Three-sectional staff's a riot.
Yeah,
I've seen more people doing that in competition, hurting themselves.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, okay, three-section staff.
We might even bring the nunchucks out just to show you.
All right. What about the Chinese, the long spear?
We have that also. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll bring the spear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, you'll be doing that. And I'm going to be running a little short segment on point fighting. Point fighting to me is like a chess game. You have your different fighters. Your what I would break down to is and it always falls around yin and yang.
Right.
You have your attacker or you have your counter attacker.
Right.
You have your animal
right.
or you have your technician.
Right.
So there's always the yin and yang. And really, I've trained my fighters to be technicians. And technicians are the ones that are playing the chess game with you. So I'll be doing that segment on, actually it'll probably be like a tip, one kind of a tip each time, how to get that first point, how to
right.
determine whether your fighter is an attacker or a counter attacker.
Right.
How to utilize the judges.
Right.
You ever been to a judge where they're running 4 judges and a center judge, and it's point, 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 no point. Point, 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 no point.
Right.
Point, 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 no point.
Right.
The judge is either sleeping or he's watching somebody else in another ring.
Right.
Do you know that a fighter can take his opponent, manipulate him,
Right.
and turn him right to the sleeping judge,
Right.
underneath his nose, making sure that when he scores, he got
Right.
that key. Wake
Right.
up the dead judge.
Yeah. That's right.
So we'll be having our different segments. And again, we are asking for interviews or footage from tournaments. If you've had, if you're a student in the martial arts and one of your family members have taped you fighting, sparring, each of your fights by elimination up, please send us the footage. You can contact us. It'll be listed on the website. And send us in the stuff. And you'll be videoing the weapons.
And I'll be able to, have different students that I know bring stuff in.
All right, very good. Anything else you can think of for right now?
I just think that we just got to stay focused on what we're doing. We can bring a lot of good to the dojo.
Yeah, we started at a half-hour show. First one, second one. Now we're tripped over to an hour show.
That's right. We're forging ahead, man.
Yeah, well, we'll stay at an hour. We'll stay at an hour, but we hope we get a lot more videotape in. I know there's a couple of martial arts stuntmen here in Cleveland.
There's enough schools in Cleveland that we can.
Yeah, and even at a tournament, you get your out-of-state schools that show up and everything. And again, it's your chance to take video at your school, send it to us. Doesn't have to be a tournament. You can just send us clips from a class showing the technique, showing the instructor and how he teaches and things like that with a little interview and that. So I think we got our job cut out for us.